Former Prince Andrew is now in police custody.
He was arrested following an investigation related to the Jeffrey Epstein files.
He is accused of allegedly sharing confidential information with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Baton Windsor has previously denied any wrongdoing over his ties to Epstein.
Well, there's been another high-profile arrest in the UK related to the Epstein files. Former British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, was taken into custody late this Monday. Police say his arrest is related to misconduct probe over his ties with Jeffrey Epstein. Prime Minister Keir Starmer appointed the Labour veteran as the UK's ambassador in Washington in late 2024. This follows last week's arrest of former Prince Andrew in connection with his ties to the late sex offender.
Welcome back to Trump Mana Empire. And if you think you've seen it all with the Epstein saga, strap yourself in, because what's unfolding right now doesn't just change the narrative. It obliterates it. After years of stonewalling, after years of blacked out documents and sealed courtrooms and untouchable elites walking away clean, the walls are finally caving in. Real arrests, not rumors, not leaks, actual handcuffs.
I want to start by asking maybe questions of what we don't know and what we do know so far. So we do know that he's been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office, but there's a lot of details that are still missing here, of course, Rahel. We don't know the specifics of the allegations of this investigation by the police. We're talking about a period of time between 2001 to 2011 when he was representing the UK as a trade envoy. But what are the specific allegations, the specific accusations of misconduct? We don't yet know that. What information actually prompted Thames Valley Police to make this arrest? That's the key question here, because we understand that they have been assessing this claim for some time now, I would say a period of days. That latest trove of emails where we see these allegations come to light has been out for a few weeks now. So what was the trigger?
Prince Andrew, a literal member of the British royal family, has been dragged into custody on British soil. Congress has unleashed subpoenas on Epstein's entire power structure, the billionaires and high-priced lawyers who bankrolled his empire and buried the truth for decades. And Trump's Justice Department, they're getting torn apart in the courtroom and on the floor of Congress.
Thank you very much indeed in hosting us this morning. And thank you very much indeed also for that very typical 11th hour intervention by you with your phone call to the President, demanding even more out of this deal than any of us expected. So thank you for that.
In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
He was in jail at the time for soliciting prostitution from a minor.
And my knowledge of him is something that I regret. I wish I'd never met him in the first place.
Why did you have an association with him? Because he was in jail at the time.
Why?
Because while justice is finally baring its teeth, a federal judge just ripped Trump's so-called transparency crusade to shreds, called it a smokescreen, called it hollow theater with zero substance underneath. And now Congress is going straight at Pam Bondi's throat, accusing the entire Trump machine of deliberately burying names and suffocating investigations for months on end. This is the Epstein dam finally bursting, and Trump is standing directly in the flood zone. Let's talk about what exploded on February 18th, 2026. Prince Andrew, the man who was born into royalty until everything was stripped from him, gets arrested on British soil. The charge: misconduct in public office. And not just any misconduct. They're alleging he physically handed classified official documents over to Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex trafficker. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't a vague social connection. This isn't guilt by association. This is a senior royal, a man with direct access to state-level intelligence, accused of feeding that intelligence to one of the most dangerous predators in modern history. People said this day would never come. They called it a fantasy. Now it's a front-page reality. A prince is behind bars. But that's just the opening act. Across the Atlantic, the House Oversight Committee has stopped playing political games. On January 22nd, They fired off subpoenas at the very core of Epstein's network. Les Wexner, the billionaire who built Victoria's Secret into an empire and used it to fuel Epstein's entire lifestyle for decades. Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, the attorneys who managed his estate and knew every dirty secret inside that operation. All three are now legally cornered, forced to testify before Congress in February and March. Democrats on the committee are drawing a hard line. We are not backing down. We will not stop until every answer surfaces. This isn't political theater. This is Congress closing in on the people who actually know where the bodies are buried. Now here's where the plot thickens into something truly ugly. While all this accountability is finally gaining traction, while arrests are being made and subpoenas are landing, Trump's Justice Department is being exposed for attempting to suffocate the entire effort. Because let's not forget, when Trump kicked off his second term, he beat his chest about Epstein transparency. He swore he'd release the files. He told the American people they deserved the truth. He sold himself as the only man with the guts to go after the global elite and blow the whole operation wide open. So what actually happened? On February 11th, Pam Bondi got hauled before Congress, and the room was seething. Lawmakers accused her of concealing the names of Epstein's associates. They charged that the files Trump released were buried under so much black ink they were completely worthless. They pointed directly to a federal statute mandating sweeping disclosure of Epstein-linked documents and called out Bondi's DOJ for ignoring it entirely. And here's the single most damning moment that shreds their entire credibility. Under oath, Bondi admitted there are active, pending investigations. Let that detonate in your brain for a moment. For months, Trump's operation had been pushing the line that there wasn't enough evidence to investigate further. They'd been telling everyone the Epstein case was wrapped up and closed. They'd been working overtime to make the whole scandal disappear into the rearview mirror, and then Bondi sits down under oath and admits, yeah, we're still actively investigating. So which is it? Were they lying before? Are they lying now? Either way, they are not telling the American people the truth, period. Then comes the courtroom destruction that lays the whole scam bare. Trump's administration filed a motion to unseal specific grand jury documents, packaging it as a transparency win. Look at us, they said. We're opening the files. We're giving you access. But a federal judge wasn't buying a single word of it. The motion got rejected, and the judge called it precisely what it was, a distraction, a smokescreen, because the documents Trump was pushing to release contained nothing new. Every single piece of it was already in the public record. Trump wasn't delivering transparency. He was manufacturing the illusion of it while keeping the real secrets locked in a vault. The judge put it on record. This was nothing but a PR operation with no substance. A federal judge, in writing, declaring Trump's entire transparency push a fraud. And that is the story that matters most right now. Trump screams about exposing Epstein. But when you strip away the noise and look at what his administration has actually done, they've kneecapped investigations, buried names that the law requires to be disclosed, and tried to hijack the narrative. And now, as arrests begin, as Congress starts yanking people under oath, as judges start dismantling the lies, it's crystal clear Trump wasn't leading this accountability push. He was dragging his feet against it every single step of the way. So let's cut to exactly why this moment is seismic. To truly grasp the scale of what's happening, you have to zero in on three things. First, who's being arrested and subpoenaed and why it's earth-shattering. Second, what Trump's Justice Department has actually done versus what they've been selling. And third, why judges in Congress are finally forcing the issue after years of watching powerful people walk free. Start with the arrests. Prince Andrew's downfall is enormous because everyone knew for years he was embedded in this. He sat down for that train wreck BBC interview where he claimed he couldn't sweat and said he was eating pizza in Woking. He cut a civil settlement with Virginia Giuffre, who accused him of sexually assaulting her when she was 17 years old, but criminal charges? Nothing. He just quietly retreated, got stripped of his military honors and royal duties, and the world was supposed to forget about it. But now he's in handcuffs charged with handing classified documents over to Epstein. This isn't about lifestyle choices anymore. This is about potentially compromising national security to shield a convicted sex predator. That's the kind of charge that doesn't evaporate. And it sends a thunderclap of a message if a prince can be arrested, if someone embedded that deeply in the establishment can face real consequences, then nobody in Epstein's orbit gets to feel safe anymore. Then there's Les Wexner being subpoenaed. This is the man who financed Epstein's entire operation. He handed Epstein power of attorney over his finances. He let Epstein occupy his properties. He essentially handed a predator the keys to an empire. And for years, Wexner has been hiding behind the same tired excuse: he didn't know. He was deceived. He cut ties the moment he found out. But victims and investigators have been saying the same thing for years. You don't surrender control of hundreds of millions of dollars to someone you haven't fully vetted. You don't just hand that power over blindly. Now Wexner must look Congress in the eye and answer under oath, and he's not walking in alone. Epstein's lawyers, the men who managed his estate, who processed his payments, who knew the names and the transactions and the arrangements, they're being subpoenaed too. These are the people who can crack this thing wide open. They know who was involved, they know who visited, they know who benefited, and they are about to be under oath, with nowhere to hide. Now here's where Trump's DOJ transforms from a sideshow into the main event. Because while this accountability train is finally moving, Trump's people have been working to derail it. When those heavily redacted files dropped, victim advocates declared them useless. Journalists said they added nothing. Lawmakers started asking out loud, what exactly are you protecting? Bondi's congressional testimony blew the contradiction wide open. She claimed there wasn't enough evidence to justify further investigations, while simultaneously confessing that investigations are currently ongoing. That's not a contradiction. That's a lie, detonated under oath in front of the entire country. And the court ruling? That's the killing blow. Trump tried to run a con with those grand jury documents generating transparency headlines while releasing nothing that mattered. The judge saw through it in seconds, labeled it a distraction, shut it down cold. Think about how catastrophic that is. A sitting federal judge looking directly at Trump's flagship transparency operation and declaring it a fraud. That's a matter of permanent public record now. A federal judge calling Trump's move fake, designed to protect the powerful while generating good press. And that's precisely why it matters on a personal level for Trump. Trump was tied to Epstein. They ran in the same circles through the 90s and into the 2000s. There are photographs, there are quotes. There's a 2002 interview where Trump openly joked that Epstein loves beautiful women as much as he does, and that many of them are on the younger side. Trump knew the kind of man Epstein was. So when his Justice Department chokes investigations and blacks out names, you have to demand an answer. Who exactly are they covering for? Is it Trump's own history? Is it his billionaire network? Is it powerful figures who have leverage over him? Because if Trump genuinely wanted the world to know the truth, the path is simple. Release everything. No redactions. No legal maneuvering. No carefully staged press moments. Just drop the files and let the truth do what it does. But he isn't doing that. He's doing the exact opposite. And now, as arrests accelerate and subpoenas multiply, it is impossible to argue that Trump was driving this forward. The only reason any of this is moving is because Congress and the courts are forcing it to move. Victim groups are watching, and they're not silent. They're saying Trump's DOJ has been one of the most powerful roadblocks in this entire process. They're saying don't hand Trump a single inch of credit for something he spent months actively sabotaging. So when you see those arrest headlines rolling in, when you see Prince Andrew in a cell and Epstein's inner circle being marched before Congress, don't let anyone frame it as Trump delivering on his promises. The truth is that despite everything Trump did to slow this down, accountability is happening anyway, because that's the real story. Let's put this in the political context it deserves. First, the Epstein scandal just became undeniable in a way it has never been before. For years, this was documents and speculation and people getting dismissed as conspiracy theorists. But now, actual arrests, actual subpoenas, actual human beings facing actual legal consequences. You can no longer wave this away as partisan noise. People are being placed under oath. People are heading toward prosecution. The truth is forcing its way into the light, whether the powerful want it there or not. Second, Trump's transparency narrative has been proven to be a complete fabrication, and the receipts are ironclad. A federal judge put it in writing. His own attorney general confessed under oath that investigations are active after months of the administration insisting there was nothing left to investigate. Victim advocates say he obstructed rather than helped. The evidence doesn't leave room for interpretation. Trump had zero interest in real Epstein accountability. He wanted the optics of it while burying the substance. Third, this exposes the double standard that makes ordinary Americans' blood boil. Billionaires and princes get shielded while working-class people get crushed by the system for minor offenses. Trump campaigned on obliterating that double standard. He built his entire brand on being the wrecking ball aimed at the elites. But when he was handed the power to actually do it, he used that power to protect them instead. And voters are watching with open eyes. They see Prince Andrew getting arrested, and they are asking hard questions. Why did this take so long? Why did Congress have to go around Trump's DOJ to make it happen? Why didn't the administration lead this effort instead of fighting it at every turn? The answer is becoming impossible to ignore. Trump never wanted real justice. He wanted a performance of justice. And fourth, this becomes a defining weapon heading into 2026. Democrats are going to hammer this with everything they have. They're going to paint it in giant letters. Trump pledged transparency and delivered a smokescreen. He pledged accountability and blocked investigations. He pledged to drain the swamp and then filled it back up and handed out the keys. Every Republican running for office is going to be forced to answer for it. Stand with Trump, and you're standing with the people who protected Epstein's network. Break with Trump, and you lose his base entirely. And there is no clean exit from this corner. The timing could not be more damaging because this story has the kind of momentum that doesn't stop. Prince Andrew's prosecution will dominate headlines for months. Wexner and Epstein's attorneys will sit before Congress and the cameras will roll. More revelations are coming. More names are surfacing. And every single drop of new information hammers the same nail deeper. Trump had the full power of the federal government in his hands to expose every corner of this operation, and he made a deliberate choice not to. So here is exactly where we stand. The Epstein reckoning has arrived. Arrests are accelerating, subpoenas are flying, and Trump's Justice Department is being dismantled in real time for running interference rather than running prosecutions. A federal judge destroyed his fake transparency campaign and put it in the record as a smokescreen. Pam Bondi admitted live under oath that investigations are ongoing after months of the administration telling everyone there was nothing left to investigate. Victim groups are on record saying Trump was dragged into this, kicking and screaming, he was never driving it. And what does all of that add up to? It means Trump's entire anti-establishment identity is a performance. He screams about taking down the elites, but when the moment of truth arrived, he protected them. He screams about exposing corruption, but when the files were in his possession, he buried them under black ink. He screams about draining the swamp, but when his DOJ had the power to prosecute powerful criminals, they ran cover for them instead. Voters are not blind. They see Prince Andrew in custody. They see Epstein's inner circle getting subpoenaed, and they are asking why it took this long and why Trump's machine wasn't the one driving it. The answer stares them in the face. Trump never wanted Epstein accountability. He wanted to wear it like a costume while making sure the real reckoning never came. And now the courts have shut him down. The lie has been exposed in public and on the record, and even as his administration tried to bury the truth, arrests are happening anyway, not because of Trump, in spite of him. If you made it this far, smash that subscribe button right now and hit the notification bell, because this story is nowhere near finished. More arrests are locked and loaded. More documents are about to drop. More powerful people are about to discover that their protection has run out. And trust me, you do not want to be the last one to see what comes next.